Motoring 2010 on TSN is brought to you by Quaker State, Real Durable Oil, and Michelin, a better way forward.
This week we're in beautiful downtown Winnipeg, and I can already see the raised eyebrows. Beautiful Winnipeg? Well, that kind of reaction usually comes from people who have either not lived here or visited. I've actually lived here. This is a great town. Sure, it gets cold in January. Can you name another Canadian city that doesn't in the winter? But I digress. Lexus believes that cities like Winnipeg represent a new luxury buyer, and they've chosen this town to introduce its fourth Lexus hybrid. Now, I've said it before, I'm not completely sold on hybrids. Too complex, too expensive, the heavy battery, and so on. However, in 2008, hybrids represented 10% of all Lexus sales, and now Lexus will have a hybrid for every Lexus model as they introduce the 2010 HS250h.
This car is a world's first. It's the first dedicated luxury hybrid vehicle, and it's the first hybrid in the entry point of the luxury marketplace.
Hybrid technology, as you know, Brad, was supposed to be a bridge technology. That means it was supposed to sort of tide us over until they got the battery situation sorted out. Clearly, batteries are still as bad as ever in terms of range. So hybrids are here to stay. That's the short version. I think everybody's going to come up with a hybrid, and those that don't are going to be perceived as not really being in the mainstream.
Our other models have a hybrid and a gasoline variant. This one in particular is only available as a hybrid and therefore is a dedicated hybrid model.
Toyota has decided to make hybrid technology their base technology for the next little while. They do it as well as anybody. The only other company that I can think of this is close is, of course, Ford, and they borrow Toyota technology. So I think this is recognizing the times we live in. A compact luxury car that has hybrid technology.
So we have a 4-cylinder gasoline engine that runs on the Atkinson cycle, which is designed to be a very fuel-efficient system. So it's augmented with the electric motor, and the electric motor provides for that torque, the additional torque that we're lacking somewhat with the Atkinson cycle. The system together, though, provides with ample power, but at the same time, of course, provides for the fuel economy and the reduction in emissions that we're trying to achieve with this vehicle, with a hybrid vehicle.
Okay, I'm driving the Lexus now. Now have a listen when I accelerate. Does that sound like a Lexus? No, it doesn't. It has a CVT transmission, just like other Lexuses, but in smaller cars, like the Versa with Nissan. The Versa is loud, put it in the Maxima, it's seamless, and it's kind of irritating.
To me, it reminds me of a Corolla. Even looks like one. I know it's not based on one, but it looks like a Corolla. The driving experience is very similar. It's not particularly powerful. It's quiet. It's competent. It does what it's supposed to. I can't get excited about it. On the other hand, you can't argue with the fuel consumption. I think it's 5.9 combined, something like that, liters per 100 kilometers. That's impressive as hell as far as I'm concerned. So, yeah, they've got that nailed down. You got Toyota quality. Yeah, they'll probably sell all kinds of them.
I don't really entirely see the point of this car. To me, a Camry hybrid seems kind of the more logical choice for this. You can equip them very similarly. Perhaps not the navigation system, but I think everything else is, available in some form or another in the Camry, and it uses the same engine, the same basic hybrid system, minus a couple of little perks and modes that you get in this vehicle.
As we all know, a hybrid system has the gasoline engine and an electric motor. Now, let's just say you're out driving and you have a problem with the hybrid electrical system. Not that they've had any problems with Lexus, but let's just say it happens. You'd assume that you just drive home on the gasoline engine, or do you?
Gasoline engine and the electric motor operate within the Lexus hybrid drive system. So the system, if there's a fault in the system, the whole system will take itself down, so that it's designed to operate completely together or not at all.
If you want to be seen driving kind of an entry-level luxury car, hybrid or otherwise, that's fine. But I would think twice about that. Me, I'd probably just buy something, maybe a Camry hybrid, which is just as good in every single way, less money, and does everything that this one does.
What we've seen from our own market surveys is that, 6 out of 10 people who are shopping in the luxury lower entry market have asked for a hybrid option to be available for them when they next go to shop for a car. This is the only one. So, our message when we launch this vehicle is your car has arrived.
So do you think hybrid electric cars are the future? I've got some shocking news for you later on Kenzie's Corner.
Think of it as the son of Evo. On this edition of Test Drive, the Ralliart version of the new Mitsubishi Lancer Sportback. It promises to be a fast and fun test drive. The Lancer Sportback is offered in two very different flavours, the base GTS and the Ralliart. The latter is to Mitsubishi what M is to BMW and AMG is to Mercedes-Benz. The tuner arm is tasked with taking the ordinary and making it extraordinary. That pretty much sums up the difference between the two versions of the Lancer Sportback. The cockpit of the Ralliart really is driver-centric, and it starts with these Recaro seats. They've got enormous base and backrest bolsters, and they splay through the shoulder area, which adds some needed support there. There are, however, a couple of minor peeves. First of all, the driver's seat, it should be height adjustable. Some of the plastics, well, they're a bit plasticky. The third thing really did irk me. When you're driving straight ahead, these paddle shifters work very well. Dial in some steering, and now to use them, you've got to take your hand off the steering wheel. They need to be mounted on here and not on the column. The biggest difference between the mortal car and the Ralliart is the engine. The former uses a 168 horsepower 2.4 litre 4. The latter is powered by a detuned version of the Evolution's frenetic little mill. In this case, the 2 litre turbocharged 4 delivers 237 horsepower and 253 pound-feet of torque at 2500 RPM. After a minor bout of turbo lag, which lasts until the car reaches about 10k or so, the broad torque plateau brings a rewarding burst of speed. It runs to 100k in 6.9 seconds, and it accomplishes the 80 to 120 passing move in a commendably fast 5.5 seconds. A big part of the reason that this Ralliart was so fast through the pylons boils down to the all-wheel drive system and its active centre differential. Now this thing allows the driver to pick one of three modes. Tarmac is for normal driving, gravel for when it's slippery, and the snow mode, well, for those really trying moments. Now if you layer that ability with limited slip differentials front and rear, and the fact that this system is proactive and so it redistributes the torque before wheel spin is allowed to happen, and you have a very sophisticated system that delivers a delightfully balanced car. The power is relayed to the road through a 6-speed twin-clutch transmission. The advantage to the twin-clutch design is that it marries the mechanical efficiency of a manual box with the ease of operation of an automatic transmission. Select drive and the box shifts its way through the gears in a seamless fashion. It is little wonder that these boxes are growing in popularity. When the time to dial up the speed of the drive arrives, there's also a sport button. Switching from the normal to the sport mode alters the transmission's shift pattern, which holds each gear a little longer and speeds up the shift, and the throttle response is sharpened. For a track day, it works wonders. It's a little bit over the top for everyday driving. The advantage the Sportback brings to the Lancer lineup is versatility. To begin with, a much needed rear wash wiper and a proper handle on the tailgate. Now with the rear seat in the upright position, you get about 14 cubic feet of cargo space and surprising rear seat legroom. Now if you remove the privacy cover and drop the seat backs down, which is that simple, you grow the volume to 46.6 cubic feet. Now that is a lot considering the exterior dimensions. The suspension does a good job of balancing the handling characteristics with ride quality. There is very little body roll, yet the suspenders soak up all but the roughest patches of pavement without missing a beat. Factor in the sharp steering and its predictable response, the generous lateral grip provided by the oversized 215/45 R18 tyres, and the Sportback Ralliart hangs in well beyond expectation. Perhaps the best way of thinking of the Ralliart version of the Lancer Sportback is to think of it as being 8/10 Evo. It's got a ton of power, a sophisticated all-wheel drive system, it handles like the Dickens, and as such, it delivers one heck of a bang for your hard-earned buck.
Time to say goodbye to our long-term Honda Fit, and it will be missed. The Fit was our overall car of the year for 2009, but would we feel the same way after living together for 6 months and about 10,000 kilometers? I'm happy to report the answer is yes. At the top of the like list, the looks. It is a cool looking car, and I love our red color. Also, plenty of cargo space with the back seats down. Now the visibility with the slimmer A-pillar is terrific, absolutely no blind spots. The 1.5 liter 4-cylinder pumps out 117 horses and has 106 pound-feet of torque. Hardly eye-popping, but more than adequate. Now one of my pet peeves is that our 5-speed manual, when you're doing about 120 kilometers, we're pushing just over 3,000 RPM, which has you searching for a 6th gear, which isn't there. The automatic, though, has a much more relaxed 5th gear. Oh, did I also forget to tell you about the 10 Yes 10 cup holders? Go figure. The bottom line, the Honda Fit is what small cars are all about today. Great styling, the cargo capacity usually found in larger vehicles, clean, fuel-efficient engines, and plenty of standard safety features, including ABS brakes. I mean, what do you need a hybrid for? Now, next week, we'll meet the newest member to the Motoring Long-Term Garage. Make sure you check out the Motoring website at motoringtv.com. You can watch any program you may have missed. In fact, how about a trip down memory lane and see what we were driving as far back as 1988. Check out our blog, our photo gallery, and much more. It's all there at motoringtv.com.
Yeah, there's a lot of competition for cars in the intermediate segment. I'd say to you right away that I'd be nervous about that maybe normally, but we're not nervous about it at all because of the strength of the car. At the end of the day, it's a consumer that decides.
You know, the interior of this new Lexus HS250h is what you would expect from Lexus, especially in the premium model. Very plush, you really feel like you're in a expensive car. But I do have a pet peeve, or should I say, the man behind the camera, Pete McCallum, does. It's got to do with the gear shift. Pete thinks it looks too, quote, wimpy. And you know what? I think I agree with him. All right, let's head to the Quaker State Garage and join Bill Gardner.
You know, Brad, one of the more frequently performed operations when you're servicing a vehicle is doing a brake job. And one of the more frequently replaced components is this brake rotor. Now, we all know that the brake pads are going to wear out, but this brake rotor, the part that turns with the wheel, often has to be replaced for various different reasons. Now, over the past few years, this, along with many other components under our car, when we're replacing them, they're frequently made in China. No matter where the car was originally produced, the replacement parts, whether you're getting them from the aftermarket or even from an OE manufacturer, they may be producing them in China. Now, this has driven the price down tremendously, so to some extent, it's been a boon for motorists because the price of this component has plummeted over the past 8 or 10 years to ridiculously low levels. However, there's made in China brake rotors and there's made in China brake rotors. There's a big difference between the plain Jane white box ones and the name brand ones, and I want to show you a perfect example of how it can go wrong. This brake rotor came off a 9-year-old Honda 4-cylinder Accord, and you can see when you look at it that the veins that cool the rotor right in here and the two faces of the rotor are heavily corroded, and they're much thinner than they should be. Surface finish was pretty good, but way too thin in here. That's why that one was replaced. Now this one came off a Buick vehicle the other day, and you can see it's a bigger, heavier, more massive rotor. It only had 12,000 kilometers on it. The surface finish is beautiful, but the customer had a complaint of a tremendous brake shudder when they applied the brakes. I road tested the car, and I mean, this thing shook like a jackhammer when you applied the brakes. At first glance, you might think, well, we can just machine that rotor and get the brake performance back. But here's the problem. This brake rotor, and because I'm familiar with the vehicle, I could recognize the difference. There's the made in China brake rotor, the plain white box one, exactly like this one that came off the car. But when you go to the AC Delco guys and get the name brand brake rotor, theirs is made in China too. This is a General Motors part, but it's made in China, going on a Buick car as a replacement. Now when you take it out of the box and you put it side by side with the inexpensive white box rotor, look at how much thicker these slabs are on this one, much thicker here and here than this cheaper rotor right here. And the genuine one, there's the minimum spec, 30.7 millimeters is the minimum thickness for this when you have to discard it. And they publish that spec, but they don't talk about how thick the rotor is here and here. And this extra mass, as I said earlier, mass is your friend in a brake system. This extra mass is what keeps this brake rotor working much better in the brake system. It keeps you away from that pulsation and shaking, and it gives you a much better performing, longer lasting brake system. A little bit more money, but well worth it. So when you're getting your car serviced, there's made in China and there's made in China. So you've got to make sure that you tell your mechanic, make sure you're getting the name brand rotors, not the plain Jane white box ones. They're less money, but you're going to be back in with problems later. Till next week, I'm Bill Gardner for Motoring 2010.
The weather was so miserable, even the detailing guys finally threw in the towel. But it didn't stop automotive journalists from across the country from checking out all the new vehicles for 2010 at the annual AJAC Test Fest.
The weather started out great, and we all got off to a good start, and then all of a sudden the skies opened and it became wet. So we get to test the cars in good dry weather and wet muddy weather, which really is the way things are in the real world. This is the 22nd annual Canadian Car of the Year event, and it comprises all the manufacturers in Canada with new cars to offer our market, and automotive journalists from coast to coast who write about these cars. This is a very unique event because first of all, it's extremely thorough. The journalists have a whole range of parameters that they vote on for each vehicle. They drive vehicles in particular categories back to back on the same roads. There's also performance testing, which is acceleration braking tests. And so we combine subjective and objective data into a very thorough evaluation of each vehicle.
Closed captioning of Motoring 2010 is brought to you by the most fuel-efficient crossover on the highway, the all-new Chevy Equinox.
We've just finished the Canadian Car of the Year Test Fest, and one of the interesting aspects of it was that there were 3 diesel-powered cars entered in various categories. Each one won its category. We had the Golf station wagon, family car under $30,000. We had the BMW 3 Series with a 3-liter twin-turbo diesel winning the luxury car. And we had the Touareg winning the mid-priced SUV-CUV category. Now, there were also 4 hybrids entered in this competition in different categories. 3 of the 4 got smoked. Only one of them, the Lexus RX 450h, won its category. Now what is this telling you? It's telling you that Canadian professional automotive journalists think that diesel rocks. Now in the old days, diesel rocked in the worst possible way. The engines were noisy and smelly and stinky and slow and everything bad about engines. Today's diesels are fast, they're smooth, and they're clean. In some ways, they're even cleaner than the cleanest hybrids, because if you're getting electricity, particularly with the new plug-in hybrids that are coming soon, well, where's that electricity coming from? Probably from burning coal. So that ain't just the way to go. But you get into a diesel-powered car, you won't believe the torque, the acceleration is spectacular. Yeah, they're a little bit noisier on the highway, but frankly, once you're cruising along at about 2,000, 2,500 RPM, you'll never notice it. Most of the hybrid cars, well, if you really want to buy a compact Toyota and do something for the environment, buy a Corolla and put $6,000 worth of insulation in your attic. Believe me, you'll be happier that way. I'm Jim Kenzie.
Well, with the 2010 Lexus HS250h, Lexus now has a hybrid in every one of its models, and this is a company committed to the hybrid system. In fact, the Kokura plant in Japan is the world's only manufacturing plant that is exclusively dedicated to building hybrid parts. Now, what do I think of this new vehicle? Well, first of all, let me say that I've been a huge fan of Lexus since it came to be about 20 years ago. The LS400 simply set the standard for luxury, and they continue to build great vehicles, but I can't warm up to this one. I mean, fit and finish is what you'd expect. But first, when it comes to the design, I agree with other journalists. It looks like a Corolla on steroids. As I mentioned earlier, acceleration of that CVT is noisy. In fact, there's a little more noise on the interior than you would expect from a Lexus. Now, I know this is entry level, but hey, at $40,000, there's lots to choose from. Anyway, maybe Graham will have a different verdict on a future test drive. That's it for now. We'll see you next time out as we continue to bring you more stories about cars and the people who drive them.
In the heavy-duty segment, bigger is better. These are not the smaller grocery getter pickups, which are really in the mainstream. These are specialty-built vehicles that are hauling trailers probably 80% of the time. On the other hand, you'll never see a truck guy continue to buy something that doesn't work, so it better work.
Motoring 2010 on TSN has been brought to you by Quaker State, real durable oil, and Michelin, a better way forward.